Alright guys, happy Taco Tuesday. It is the first week of the NFL season, and this is around the time that I'm going to run the X's and O's on exactly what to expect per each week. So that's kind of how I run business. Can't even talk, run business here in the DOB. So just a little heads up, we are here at Raiders headquarters, and you guys wanted kind of like the live look of what it looks like. And right here behind me, that's a nice backdrop, right? Not a backdrop, but background. And that is Al Davis's coveted torch. And as you can see, it's easy to get sidetracked by the scenery here because it's so gorgeous. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and talk about the Las Vegas Raiders and exactly what to expect from the Raiders offensive line. I spoke about this yesterday on my YouTube live stream in my Pick 6 segment, which I run every single day, Monday through Friday. So if you have yet to subscribe to my YouTube channel, go ahead and do that. But let's go ahead and talk about the touching points as it pertains to the Raiders offensive line. I already went ahead and put up my beast receipts on my predictions. Now nothing's set in stone, but this is how I saw it playing out 2-3 months in advance, right? Yeah, so I saw Colton Miller obviously on the blind side left tackle position. Left guard John Simpson's going to man side next to him. And then at the center position, Andre James is going to hold that spot at least initially, although I do fully expect Dylan Parham to win that job later on in the season. So with that being said, the right side is Lester Cotton, and obviously with Alex Leatherwood out, Jermaine Illuminor's in, and that's how I see this one playing out for now. Now things can change, and obviously guys get dropped, waived, claimed, whatever the case may be, so that's going to have a game of musical chairs. Speaking of musical chairs, Kyle Pecco, a guy who I've been really high on, just like with Tyron Johnson, some of the other players, DJ Turner, another one, Darian Butler, Luke Masterson. So he was actually, checking off another beast receipt, he was actually added back onto the practice squad because, as you guys know or remember when I tweeted stuff out, that they had 3 roster spots open. 2 were taken up right before practice ended, and that was the last day. I think I can't pronounce his name, Vitaly Gurman. I'm sorry if I butchered his name, man. I apologize for that. But he's a guard tackle coming from Kansas City Chiefs, and they also got a defensive back. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong. But in a nutshell, they then add Kyle Pecco, who I thought was going to be brought back anyways because he's just too good to be off the team. He's just really good. He's shined in preseason, shined in practice. I mean, I'm grading his film every single snap. The guy's a beast, and he's a 2-gap space eater, and he can really take on those double teams and really free up the second level backers behind him. So I thought it was a solid depth piece by them to go ahead and sign Kyle Pecco, who I anticipated them being back on the team in some way, shape, or form, and he is. So that's the transactions that happened yesterday. Obviously, in making that move, Tyler Lancaster, a 3-4 defensive end, defensive tackle, however you want to swing it, he was actually released because he was on the injured reserve, so that opened a spot for Kyle Pecco to be on the team. So again, that being said, that's a nice play there. I thought they kind of killed 2 birds with 1 stone by opening and freeing up a roster spot and adding a depth player who can be a rotational depth defensive lineman in this scheme. So that's the transaction. When it comes to the Raiders offensive line, again, going back to it, look, the Chargers have a defensive front 7 that's very good, right? You talk about edge setters, and I'm just gonna walk to the media workroom right now. You talk about edge setters, and you talk about guys like Khalil Mack. They just added him, and then you also have Joey Bosa. So I graded every single snap of theirs that I got my hands on, and I ran the grades on the live stream. You guys can see what I have to say about them. But in the meetings that they faced the Raiders, it doesn't matter the scheme because offensive line play and technique is one thing. So as far as schematics wise, when it comes to the pass rush department, they really didn't get it done as far as the Raiders offensive line. And so pass rush is pass rush, and pass protection is pass protection. So obviously there's different sets that you can provide, like an angle set, a jump set, whatever the case may be, right? If you take a 45-degree angle, but it's a little bit more vanilla than, let's say, a run gap base scheme, right? Where you're kind of combo reaching, blocking, or you're being taught different techniques when you try to cross face a defensive lineman or so forth. So a lot of different parameters go into that, but when it comes to the pass blocking, gosh, Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa just ate up the Raiders offensive line. And so when you add guys like Chris Covington, who's been on the team but now he's a practice squad player because they went ahead and got Austin Johnson from the New York Giants, and Austin Johnson comes from a 34 base, coming from the Tennessee Titans, before that Penn State product, right? You have a guy who I was really high on coming out, and why was he sought after as a 3-4 base defensive tackle? Simply because of the fact that, well, for one, just look at his size. I mean, the guy is a 2-gap space eater, but aside from that, and being a 2-gap space eater, the guy can really push the pocket. I mean, he's not going to be an interior rusher racking up double-digit sacks, but he is a good player. And so Austin Johnson, to me, was a really nice pickup for them. And then they go ahead and roll down and then pick up some of these other guys, right? Some familiar faces that Brandon Staley is familiar with. Ronaldo Hill, the DC, right? So you look at guys that they picked up, and one is Morgan Fox. Signed a 2-year contract with the Carolina Panthers. And if you guys remember, he actually played for Staley while with the Rams. So he reunites himself with Coach Staley with the LA Chargers. So you look at what they're trying to do in that 34-base 2-gap scheme, and then you're putting 2 and 2 together, and you're like, man, they're adding continuity along the defensive line. And that's just talking about the defensive line. That's not even talking about the second-level backers outside of Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, who I just mentioned earlier. And so you take that into account, then like, oh man, well, what about Troy Reeder? There's another guy, right? Familiar face. What about Sebastian Joseph Day? There's another guy that Brandon Staley and Ronaldo Hill are familiar with. And Ronaldo Hill came to the LA Chargers simply because, not simply because, he obviously deserves it, but he came to the Chargers from his time with the Denver Broncos when he was the defensive back coach, and obviously Brandon Staley was the outside linebackers coach with the Denver Broncos in the AFC West. So again, a lot of things to look forward to when it comes to the Raiders offensive line. This is what it comes down to. They're going to be using a lot of 12 personnel, 1 back, 2 tight end sets to kind of chip the edge rushers, keep them at bay, and then also protecting the offensive tackles from being on an island, not allowing them a free release to get upfield vertically. And so if you can run some screens and bubble screens and take advantage and take away basically that initial get off, I think that's going to do wonders for the Raiders offensive line, because you have to kind of scheme things up to kind of slow down those edge rushers, mainly Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, because you know they're going to eat. What worked against them last year, you don't think they're going to try that again? The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior, so of course they're going to try to do that again. So again, if you're the Raiders offensive line and you're the Raiders coaching staff and you're Coach McDaniels, you're going to try to slow them down any way, shape, or form, whether it be a chip with the tight end or H-back or whatever the case may be, based on down and distance and formation situational football. But at the end of the day, you're going to want to see these things come to fruition when it comes to the X's and O's. Well, that'll be it for this Aloha Kickoff video. I went a little bit longer, but it's all good. Stay tuned for more YouTube content and Twitter videos. Subscribe to my YouTube channel in the right-hand corner of your screen as you stay up to date on all things Beast in real time. I'm about ready to get ready for practice as we are here from Raiders headquarters. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, drop your comments. BEASTwriter.